acquisition, learning and development, and our HR business partner team. And we also really focus on DE&I, and we have a culture advisory board that really does a lot of employee research and helps us with our employee engagement survey that we do on a yearly basis. Really, the mission of our culture advisory board is really to promote DE&I across our organization, and really it's to treat our employees fairly and equitably. I think what's one thing is really cool about our organization, we just had a board meeting um, this week, and our board is really behind our DE&I efforts as an organization, which really is huge. I think the other thing to note is that we are truly a male-dominated industry, and we're really trying as an organization, and we're fully committed to elevating women in our industry, in the waste and recycling industry. And then a little bit about myself. I am a professor with Southern New Hampshire University, and I deal with mainly graduate level students in talent and performance management, which rotate about every 10 weeks, and there's about 20 people in those courses.
Yeah, I love your background, Robert, because you can bring so much context to just this conversation today, and I think it helps with your journey to make the decision to move forward with Lyric. So I love that you share what you do outside of LRS. Could you spend a little bit of time with the group just providing some detail on the types of employees that your organization supports, kind of just the makeup of LRS, if you would, please?
Sure. So as I said earlier, we're about 2,100 to 2,500 seasonality. We have, I would say 95% of our employees are frontline. So we do drivers, CDL drivers, non-CDL drivers, what we call helpers and sorters. It's really difficult work. If you think about someone driving your garbage truck around, those are the people who you see. And then the sorters and helpers are people who work in our recycling facilities who sort all of your recyclables, so that they don't go to the landfill. We have a very heavy Spanish population, so we're both English and Spanish, multilingual. We also have, of course, our management level, which includes our executive team and accounting, HR. We have general managers and facility managers, and it's very heavy operations focused. We also have a maintenance group that has mechanics and different levels of mechanics, both union and non-union workforce. For us, we really do the gamut of like how to touch an employee and different levels within an organization.
Love that. And I think that's helpful just to ground us in the conversation so that the audience knows the type of people that you employ and kind of the audiences that you serve. If you could just share a little bit about some of the challenges you were facing as you decided that you needed to elevate your HCM solution and really go to market to look for a new offering.
Yeah, so we've been an ADP client with ADP Workforce now for probably 5 years prior to making the change to the Lyric product. We really are, we have 8 different unions, all with differing rules and regulations. We needed a really powerful HCM product that could handle that, but also could handle things like talent management, position management, performance management, and really that's able to scale. So we do a lot of M&A work here as well. And so we divest and we acquire organizations quite frequently. And so for us, we need a tool that will help us do that and easily be able to onboard people into the platform. I think also from a longer term perspective, and really what our strategy was when we went to market, was we needed a vendor who could not only meet those demands that we need now, but also like how can their HCM be creative in the future? And how can we have a partner and have a seat at the table to have these conversations? For us was really important. And I think what's important for everyone to understand is I didn't work with ADP prior to coming to LRS. I worked for a very large Fortune 20 organization prior to coming to LRS, and that was on the Workday platform. And so I've never used ADP in my entire HR career, and so I was really new to the Workforce Now product.
Interesting. We'll definitely talk a little bit more about that. So as you think about kind of, your decision to move forward with ADP Lyric HCM, knowing your background, knowing that you were not an advocate for ADP, you had experience with other, very large HCM providers. Tell us what it was that got you excited about Lyric and really made you make that decision to move forward with us, because I understand that you did go to RFP and that you looked at some of the people that we go up against every single day. So I'd love for you to share some context there, knowing the background and the experience that you have with the
Sure.
competitor that you just mentioned.
Yeah, we went to RFP, so we looked at SAP, UKG, Workday, and ADP. And really that is because I didn't know ADP and I've worked with Workday prior. So for me, we needed to go to market to see what we could find. We really thought one of the most important pieces of this entire RFP was around service. And so I know that the product service and delivery from a Workday perspective, our CHRO that's here now knows the service delivery on the UKG side, and I've been an SAP client before pre-Workday, and so I know the level of service. And for me, we had really good service on Workforce Now, and that's what we want. We want excellent service in the product that we're going to go and move to, and that was really one of our primary focuses. I think we also wanted to focus on who could deliver a full HCM suite, so that we didn't have to have these ad hoc pieces coming in to the platform. So we really wanted to find a company that could provide us talent management, recruiting, position management, analytics, all of our time management and benefits pieces as well. I think for me, it also needs to be personalized. It needs to be customizable. It really needs to deliver a great employee experience, and also a great experience for our HR teams that are working in the tool every single day. And I'll tell you, working on the Workday project, so I helped transition my former employer onto Workday and was part of that team. I'll tell you that you can compare Workday and Lyric on the same level. It is a very powerful enterprise solution, but it will really help meet clients of every size and scale. And that's what I really enjoyed going through this whole process. I think the other pieces that we thought about and that we really needed to make sure we cared for in the RFP were compliance components. So tax and risk, like I don't have a payroll tax person. So I need somebody who can do that for us. And ADP was that person. And also from a risk management perspective, like we needed to make sure that we took care of all of our tax issues. If there were compliance components, on other states that we service, we want to make sure we're doing the right thing. And then at the end of the day, for me, it's really about the relationship and how you build that relationship across the platform that you're working with and the company, because you're spending a lot of money. And so, you want to have a genuine partnership that is not only accountable, but is also a trusted partner. And so that is why we really went with ADP, was really they're a trusted partner. We had enjoyed our relationship with them prior in the Workforce Now space. And the process we went through to, go to market, find someone, for us, it really meant a lot that they really thought about us as their only client. And we were really just, we had a great time having conversations with different levels throughout the ADP organization and the level of commitment.
Yeah, I love that you share that, because it's something that my team and I talk a lot about as a key differentiator for us in our Lyric story is our service model. we want to give a small business feel that you're partnering with a small company, yet, we are the big guy in town. And so to the point you just made, you can trust ADP. You're not going to have to worry about your employees' paychecks being correct. You're not going to have to worry about those tax issues that could come up. And so I love that you share that, because we talk about it as software with a service, because truly that service model and that relationship that we have is second to none, in my opinion. And I definitely want them to hear more about that from you. And I'll ask you some questions about your service experience here in just a few minutes. But before we get there, I'd love to ask if you could just talk a little bit about your implementation experience. What was it like to stand up Lyric? I think there's not a buyer out there that would not deny that implementing any solution, whether it's HCM or any software, is not fun, but it's a means to an end to get to a place that you're at today. So if you could talk a little bit about that experience, I think the audience would love to hear that.
Sure. I'll tell you that, going through an implementation with a different HCM provider, they use outside implementors. So you don't actually get ADP employees who do your implementation. And that was really surprising with me with ADP, that the level of commitment to have ADP teammates working and doing the work for the implementation was huge. It was one of the selling factors for us. And really, I think the reason for that is because they're committed to the product. They know the updates. They're not working for, a third-party company that might not know everything, and they're knowledgeable, and they provide you guidance along the way. And, we had a great opportunity to work with some really great people on our implementation team. And that really made us, it really changed how we really thought about the product. Our project manager, she was fantastic, really kept everyone, in line. And I think, the implementation consultants that ADP has, if you have an issue, it's easy to change. You say, the relationship isn't working, and we just need to make a change. And we really were very surprised at how quick that change was able to be made for one or two people. But we also embrace that they are a part of our LRS family. Like, they're making huge changes to our organization, and our team really felt like they were a part of our family. I think as part of this implementation, our organization, really from our CEO, has said, like, we're really now in the 21st century. Like, our teams can find stuff, can do things in the platform. He can go find his analytics. And, we've heard from our C-suite that this has probably been one of the best HCM implementations that they've ever been a part of. And, when you think about that on the C-level, you really take that to heart, because these are huge changes for employees. They impact a lot of people, a lot of systems, right? Finance systems and others. And really, they were really thrilled that we didn't hear a lot of noise, didn't have a lot of issues, and that ultimately he didn't get a phone call to say this just wasn't the right, right change. I also think about, like, ADP is such a large organization, and we're not very big. We're 2,300 employees, but we're treated like their only client. Like, our support group, it treats us like we're their only client. And that was really also a selling point from the implementation piece as well.
Absolutely. So you've been on Lyric now for, 7-8 months, I think it's been, if my memory serves me right. So as we think about kind of going live, and now you're on this journey, you're interacting with the product every day, can you talk a little bit about how ADP Lyric has improved your processes, whether it be, workflows, authorizations, access to information or data, just overall, what impact, if any, has Lyric had in that regard?
Well, I'll tell you, we didn't really have much prior to coming to Lyric. So we had a lot of manual processes. And we've really been able to automate almost all of our HR processes and all of our vendor processes. So, for example, like, from a finance perspective, we didn't have cost centers built into our previous HCM. Now we have cost centers built in. So the cost strings from the GL perspective are easily able to be configured. Um, and that's one thing we love. So now we can separate between location and cost center. And that's not something we had before. Our benefits team can now integrate with multiple carriers and have files going back and forth, and our carrier integrations are better. We have some third-party vendors we work with on other risk management, safety, some engagement stuff, and we're able to use the integration feature within Lyric to help us with those integrations, which has been phenomenal. And then at the end of the day, it's really about how to deliver insights to people and to leaders and to executives. And we're able to update all of our board decks. And it's a lot of self-service. We didn't really have great data analytics before. We have amazing analytics now. And I think one thing that I really enjoy is that it's the level of like the security is all hierarchy based. So if you have a HR business partner, for example, that supports a specific area, you can give them access just to that area to support. Or if you have maybe a finance leader that only has access and only can see certain things in the finance, or you can, take that security and really deliver what you need to there. I think what I love is what our CFO has said is that CFOs really love to get all of the data. They want everything because payroll is a large, component of people's books. And now we can get ad hoc reporting and balance his books very timely through the GL tool, but also through ad hoc reporting, which has been a really great experience for us.
I love that. We did get a question in the chat asking back to the implementation discussion. Did you go big bang or did you implement in phases?
Great question. So we did a 12-month implementation and everything. We did all HCM products at once. So we did payroll, HR, talent, performance management, position management. I know I'm forgetting things, but we did every module. We integrated. I think we have one outstanding module, which is Standout, which we're integrating now.
Perfect. And then someone did ask if you implemented international and US. I believe you're just the US right now, correct?
That's correct. We are just US based.
Perfect. So can you talk about just your talent strategy and then how that's evolved through the investment in ADP Lyric HCM? I'd love for you to kind of share, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, that you didn't have a ton in place in terms of the support through HCM. So would love to have you share that journey.
Yeah, so this was the first year that we did performance management in an actual HCM product. We just wrapped up our performance management. So all of our performance reviews went through Lyric, really great process, kind of there were the goal setting pieces. So goals were imported. Then the managers were able to rate their employees. Employees were able to rate themselves, and managers rate their employees. And then it went to HR to review. You make some adjustments in HR, and then you push it back out to the manager to deliver the conversation. And that for us was really groundbreaking here. First time we've ever done that. And so it really for us leads to better talent management pieces. Like we're able to manage our employees better. We're able to make them feel better. Like they're actually getting a real review. They're getting feedback from their leader. And we're using Lyric to deliver that. I think the other pieces are that, we're doing our merit pieces in compensation, our STIP program as well. So our short-term incentive program. We are working through succession planning and making sure that the 9-box is done in Lyric. And, we have like a PowerPoint presentation that you would put the 9-box in and people would place their people. Well, now that's all done in Lyric for us. And the managers are able to do that, have the conversation, with their HR business partner as they're doing it. And then when we come to the formal meeting, we're able to look at the talent review there in Lyric and make the changes right away in the tool. So that's been a great success for us. Really, we think about success planning, right? We want to make sure we have people aligned on who's going to be their successor and what that 5-year planning period is. And so we're able to do that in Lyric. And you think about what this means for the organization in whole. Like, what is the return on investment? And really, for us, we're achieving greater efficiency, so no more paper being shuffled around. There's a cost reduction component because you really think about like what are all of the pieces that go into like having all of these meetings or having people do pieces of paper or where's your talent and how are you saving time on talent? And then alignment across the company. Like now everyone's doing the same thing. People in different areas are not doing different things. And then from a culture perspective, we all speak the same language. So now our CEO and CHRO really can understand what's going on in the entire organization and see it really at their fingertips. And it's because we're leveraging the technology that Lyric's been able to provide our organization to really invest in our people development and delivering metrics on these things to identify areas, ultimately where we can provide additional value.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful, Robert. I'd love to hear your story around how you've evolved your talent strategy, and I know you shared a little bit about creating some efficiencies in your overall processes. Are there any kind of key business outcomes that you've achieved through leveraging ADP Lyric HCM that you haven't talked about? Anything that comes to mind? That I know it's been a short amount of time, call it 7 months or so live on the platform, so I recognize that you haven't been using Lyric for years yet, but are there other outcomes that your peers on the line would benefit from hearing from?
I think about turnover, right? I think HR, professionals in general think turnover, and I'll tell you that we're able to accurately track our turnover. And we've been able to bring down by 10 basis points our turnover on a year-over-year basis because we're now thinking about who they are as an individual. We're thinking about their future growth. We're providing them training and development. And really, you think about it, our cost is around $18,000 per employee when we lose them from a rehiring perspective and training piece.
Sure.
And it was a huge win for us over the last 8 months around leveraging Lyric to be able to help us manage that.
That's great. We did get another question in the chat. What do you use for your time solution and scheduling?
So we use Workforce Manager through ADP.
Perfect. So we talked a little bit, maybe 15 minutes ago or so, about your overall just service experience. I'd love to spend some time there. Again, I know I mentioned this, that my team really does tout our service model and our service relationships with our clients as a differentiator with this product. And I've been a part of this program for over 2 years now, and I think this is the 8th or 9th client reference call that I've done. We try to do them once a month, and every call, the clients talk about how incredible our service team is and our overall kind of service model and strategy. So can you just give some context to the group on the line? What has that experience been like for you? It sounded like it was positive, but maybe you can go a little bit deeper into what that experience has been like. And if you have any examples that would be relative, please do share.
Sure. I'll tell you that our client support team is phenomenal. I said earlier I worked with a different HCM provider. We didn't have this type of service with our previous support, our previous HCM provider. You're able to call them, you get an answer from someone live. You're able to email them. We're able to open tickets. We have client meetings with them on a weekly basis, which you don't get ever And I was really surprised when we went to the Lyric product and got this level of service. Um, if we have an issue in with something, maybe, I don't know, we want to build a new business process out and we forgot how to do it. Well, we can easily open a ticket or call the team, and they'll walk us through on that issue. Or if there's some other issue, like we forgot to end date something and we need some help walking us through that, we're able to do that right away. Um, but I think it's more about the individualized attention that we get. Um, I really truly feel that our client success manager, I really feel like she's my friend. Um, I, am able to communicate with her in multiple modalities. And we just talk back and forth and we have really open, honest conversations because at the end of the day, they want to help you as an organization. Like it's all about what is your long-term strategy? How can ADP come to the table and provide you assistance with that long-term strategy? You think about the resources that ADP has, and that ability to have that partnership for us has been really, really amazing. Um, you know, we're not on hold like an hour waiting for someone, right? We don't get a call, like people answer the phone and you don't get that. It's just direct access.
Totally. I hear that so often when I'm talking to our Lyric clients, and it's something, like I said, that I think our team is really proud of when we are talking to prospective clients and people that are considering Lyric. I think what's unique as well about our overall service model is that we have this ad hoc service team, and then we have a dedicated client success executive assigned to every one of our clients. So can you kind of talk a little bit about what those two different models look like and how you leverage your client success executive? I know her well, she's fantastic, but I'm
She
curious if you
is.
could just give some perspective there.
So your client support team is your day-to-day kind of go-to every single day for issues, concerns. Um, but your client success executive is really there to say, hey, what's your roadmap? So we've provided her with our 5-year roadmap and journey, and we need your help to get there and to be successful. And so, how can we work together through our roadmap and to leverage the technology or the tools within Lyric to be able to do that and help us? And so, it's really that commitment level, but also it's that ability to have a conversation, an open and honest conversation with them about, hey, like we would love to see things this way. Where is the opportunity for that, and how can we get connected into the right team at ADP to help us with that? And she's been really phenomenal person to do that with. Um, it's really about the partnership. I think also I'm pretty open and honest individual, and we really have vulnerable conversations with each other. Like it's really about building that relationship one on one and really driving to success. Because at the end of the day, my customer is LRS. I want our team to be very successful. My employees in our HR team need to be empowered to be successful and have a HCM provider and a tool that works every single day, that so that they can deliver what they need to for their clients. And that's what I explained to her, and it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, I love the example you gave too in terms of what this journey is going to look like for you over the next several years. And one of the things that I see every day in my role as a part of the Lyric program is how tightly our product team is aligned to our service team, our success team, our clients. And so it sounds like you've gotten to experience some of that and have a little bit of a window into that product relationship, that if there is a need in the product, you have access to that team. And it's pretty powerful that we have a platform that was built on, low code, fully on the cloud, that makes it easy to take that client feedback. If there is a capability that you need in the product, and help support that. It's just like nothing I've ever been a part of. And I've been at ADP myself for almost 18 years, with a bunch of different products across several different businesses. And it's just like a really unique kind of team and program as a part of ADP.
And you know what? You do not find that with other HCM providers, because your number 150,000, right? Or whatever that might be. Like that's not the experience here. And
Mhm.
that is every day it's like that. I'm able to connect with people that I would actually have never thought I would have been able to connect with within the not only the product team, but also within sales or marketing or other groups within ADP to get clarification or questions answered.
Absolutely. We did get a question if we have LMS. We do have LMS and ADP Lyric HCM. So for the person who asked that, please do connect with your account executive. We'll be happy to showcase that for you. So the last question that I have, Robert, and again, I would encourage anyone online to feel free to add any questions on your mind in the chat before we do wrap. But just overall, how would you sum up your partnership? Is there anything we didn't talk about that you think the peers of yours on the phone would want to hear as they're making this decision? Of course, the folks who are on this line are contemplating whether or not to make a decision and to move forward with Lyric. So just anything that you would share overall in that regard.
Yeah, so I think really for us, it's about the partnership. I don't think we would be in the place we're at in 2025 without uh, the the level of detail and the partnership we have with ADP from the HR perspective. As an organization, we went through a lot of change in 2024. It was a real total transformation of our business, and we really needed ADP to be our strategic partner at the table with us making decisions. And I think we'd be in a very different place if we didn't choose ADP to be that partner. Because to be honest with you, it's really not just a partnership. It is really a friendship. It is really um, you know, for me, it's I I I text my client executive all of the time. Like that's the type of relationship that I want, and that ADP is delivering for us. And I'll just tell anyone who's thinking about like who to select from or whatever, really think about the support and the partnership that you'll get from an organization. And I think that for you should make your decision. I also think the level of technology that ADP is providing in the Lyric product is phenomenal. It is a really superior enterprise level product that I would go to bat with any other HCM provider on.
Well,
And
I
I think
love
the other
that. And
thing,
I think,
Liz,
oh,
the other
please.
thing
Yeah,
is,
no.
to that LMS question. So we didn't have LMS in our prior uh, platform with Workforce Now, and we've seen a lot of good success with our LMS within the Lyric product. It integrates. It's a great tool. You can upload your own training programs in it. Um, and we have a new director of learning and development who is now being actively using the platform to build out their training.
Love it. I can't wait to share with my service team and my success team some of the things that you said today. They deserve the kudos as well as implementation, by the way. So I'll definitely share the kind words. And Robert, we just appreciate that you're willing to talk to us today. For those on the line that are going to be attending ESS, I know you'll also be there. I certainly don't want to volunteer you to talk to anybody, but knowing who you are and how great of a client you are, I'd love for anyone that's going to be there that's on the line to seek you out. I'm sure you'd be open to conversations if there's deeper conversations or questions that the folks on the line want to hear. But we just appreciate having you as a client and being a part of the ADP Lyric HCM family, and just appreciate, again, you spending the time today. So thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
We'll see
Awesome.
you at Modem.
Okay.
Have a good one. Bye,
All right, you too.
everyone.